Hello, Sam.
Hello, Jack.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, mate. You alright?
Yeah, all good, mate. So who have we got coming on the show today?
Today's guest is Daryl. We done an episode a while back with the fellowship I'm in, that's all we're going to say to it is now. I'm not going to mention the fellowship I'm in.
Yeah.
We're just going to call it the fellowship.
The fellowship, yeah.
I'm in. In that fellowship, I have a sponsor called Gary.
Yes, who we spoke to a while back, didn't we?
Yeah, who took me through the work in the fellowship.
Yeah. You'll get used to it.
Yeah. And I've got a couple of sponsees now that I'm taking through the work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got 3 now.
Yep.
Daryl's my first sponsee and he's the first person I took through the work.
Yeah.
So I've heard his story before, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting for you to hear it, and him getting it. He's another addict. I'll let him tell more of his story when he gets here. But I think it'll be very inspirational. I want to get a few people from the fellowship on the podcast. There's a couple of them lined up.
Yes.
You've been to a couple of meetings with me now.
Yeah, no. So you've you've invited me along twice now.
Yeah.
And it's a hell of an experience, and it's and I'm not an addict myself, but I take away quite a lot from that with just how seeing the development of people. I mean, you've got people there at various different stages of recovery, and you can see the kind of worlds apart and how far people have come and the way they've changed their lives around.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to take away from that, regardless of whether you're an addict yourself or not.
Yeah.
And I think that the whole sharing of people's stories and learning, it's the kind of that emotional management and that management of your situation and how you develop as a person. I think very, very kind of rewarding and beneficial.
I think when you hear people's stories, from what I get from them rooms, I leave them rooms feeling uplifted. I've described it in the way before as sometimes life can flatten your batteries a bit like a mobile phone.
Yeah.
But when I go to a meeting, that's sort of my charger point, and I leave there feeling fully charged again and ready to go back out into the world and take on my demons as an effect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is what I want to do with this podcast: is have people have a similar feeling to that if they're struggling.
Yeah.
With booze, whether it be mental health or drugs or whatever their demons may be, if they take a little bit of light from someone else's story and that inspires them to change their ways, then we're doing our job, aren't we?
I think so. I think that's the right approach to have, and we'll keep going with it, mate. Keep rocking and rolling. How are you now? I mean, are you at the 10-month mark yet?
I'm 10 months. I'm 300 days today. Not that I'm counting. So I'm 10 months on the 10th of September was my date. So sometimes it falls a day or two before. Yeah.
So we're the 7th today, 7th of July.
Yeah. So I'm 10 months. My birthday's on the 12th, and around about the 10th is my 10 months as well. So
good.
Busy month, exciting celebrations all round.
Yeah.
No champagne.
No champagne. No, not at all.
How are you? All good?
Yeah, no, all good, mate. I had the wedding yesterday. I was best man for one of my buddies from work. Just a fantastic day. It's so nice to see someone I've been mates with for a few years now, and to see him just so happy and his partner so happy on this day. It's just fantastic, mate. Just really good emotions and really good vibe, and everyone's just really positive and having a good time.
Yeah.
And then obviously later on for the party, had all other friends and colleagues come in from work, and we all just had a good laugh. And that's a real good. I don't know. It's like pick me up, really.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Amazing. We had a chat about it before. I got asked to be best man 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's incredible, isn't it?
And
the first one, I was petrified.
Yeah,
because it's someone's big day. You don't want to get it wrong. Did you feel nervous?
Oh well, so I wasn't. What I didn't want to do, because it's my first time, I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. Yeah. I told him that when he first offered it to me. I was like, John, I said, I'm not really. I mean, are you sure? And he was like, oh no, absolutely. He said, you're the only one I trust within the group to do it properly. I was like, okay, all right, respect, mate, and I'm absolutely honoured to do it. But Yeah, no, that everything was fine. I remember speaking to the registrar when we got there, and she talked me through kind of, holding on to the rings, and I have to go up and present the rings during that part of the ceremony and whatnot. That was all fine. And then obviously the big one was the speech, and that whole morning no one said a word, and I was fine. I was like, yeah, got it all written. I practiced it. I was happy with it. Yeah. And then as we were sat down for dinner, everyone around me just started asking me about the speech. And I was like, why are you asking me about this? Don't ask me about the speech. What are you asking me about the speech for? And then all of a sudden that just started building. I felt all of the little butterflies in my stomach. I was like, this is ridiculous. What? Stop asking me about the bloody speech. Just let it naturally happen, and then I'll be fine. And I was absolutely fine. Got up and got a few laughs and finished off strong. And then afterwards I had lots of people come and tell me afterwards that they really liked it and that I'd done a good job. So
good, mate. With the second and third one, I just rubbed the names out and put the
I remember that for future.
So you've got the speech ready for next time.
Exactly, mate. I'm going to keep hold of it. I'm going to use the similar themes. You know what I mean? But that was good, mate. Fantastic day. And
I love a wedding.
Yeah,
I do.
It's great. It's just everyone's happy. And
my brother's wedding was up there for one of the most magical days I've ever had, but probably one of the best days of my life, because my daughters were there, my family was all there, everyone I loved was under one roof. Yeah, and it was just a really nice day. Yeah, it was very emotional. Yeah. I'm an emotional guy, aren't I?
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, I know my mate John, who got married. He's quite an emotional bloke, but he shed a few tears during the ceremony because the daughter of his partner, who he's married, got up and done like a reading during the ceremony and sort of said how she now sees him as like a second dad. Yeah, and she kind of never felt like she always thought it was just going to be her sister and her mum for like the rest of their lives, and then John come into their lives, and she said it just fit, and John just started blubbering.
I don't even know, John. You're starting me off.
But that was lovely, mate. It was such a good day, and weddings are good. Yeah, good stuff.
It is. On that note, here's a depressing story about recovery. I'm joking. Okay. This is Daryl's inspirational story coming up.
Okay.
I'm Sam.
I'm Jack.
And this is Daryl. And this is Dare to Talk. We've got Daryl here, who I've mentioned in the intro as my sponsee. You've been in the same fellowship as me you've been in longer than me as well, which is, how long have you been sober for now?
Over 4.5 years now. Yeah.
What brought you to the fellowship?
Well, basically drink and drugs brought me to my knees, basically. Well, I thought it was. I thought that was my main problem, was my drinking and my using. As we come to learn in the fellowship, in the meetings we go to, that it's all about obviously having more of a spiritual malady. So we have a sickness, a disease, which obviously addiction is. Which I never knew about, or well, you wouldn't until you go in. I can remember my first meeting, actually, which was in Clacton. I'd just come out of a treatment centre, which one of my defects of character, which I've come to learn about, is my ego and doing as I'm told. And after 2 weeks in the treatment centre, I was asked to leave because it was just bad behaviours and stuff like this, and a bit of boredom. I think I'd sort of, before I'd gone in, it had got to my worst ever, realistically. Using every day without fail. I couldn't live without drugs, basically. I didn't drink a lot. I thought it was weird that I would use, but I wouldn't think I was as bad as someone who drank, even though alcohol's legal. That was the delusion in my head, basically. So I'd be a daily user. I'd use heavy amounts because it sort of, the progression was I'd say it's quick, but I've always used drugs for a long time. I've been using since I was 15 years old.
We're talking cocaine here, aren't we?
Yeah, so talking coke. Coke was my main drug of choice, realistically.
So where did it all begin?
It began with my youth, to be honest. Where I grew up, I started smoking weed and block at the age of sort of 12 or 13.
Okay. Was it a social thing, sort of?
It was, and then I sort of started selling it.
Okay.
Because I sort of couldn't afford it, so obviously I thought the best thing to do was sell it. And even with that, I should have realised that I was quite addicted to it, because I always smoked twice as much as everyone else, and a few times I got myself in a bit of debt, and obviously lucky I had my brother to sort of help me out, and bits like that. But I think the first time I did it was, we'd gone out when we were 15, man, and mates in Wivenhoe, and we got like half a ticket between four of us or something, and it was amazing. It was just, I don't know, the feeling it gave me, it was
Superman.
Yeah, basically, I thought I could take on the world. It was nuts.
Yeah,
it's something I've been missing, because I've got such a big ego, but then I can hit such a low without, just, I mean, I could never find a middle ground. I'd always want to try and fit in everywhere, and the people I was with at different groups, I'd always change who I was to suit. And cocaine just gave me this infinite high where I was fucking, I thought I was the best thing going. It was crazy. And then
an arrogance, sort of.
Complete arrogance, realistically. When I was young, I used to, obviously, when I first did it, when I would drink, I'd get violent, and that would escalate even more. Because I thought, fucking no, I could beat anyone up, and it was just delusional, basically. It sort of progressed, and
from that moment, you and your full mates got the first ticket. Was there a problem instantly there, or did you use it like just?
No, because it was so expensive. Obviously, it didn't work. So it was more of a treat, do you know what I mean? Like a one-off, which I think it was 15 the first time I took it. I took ecstasy at 16, which was like when I left school, we had a big party, and took that, and I took that more than coke to start with, because it was cheaper, because it was like £1 a pill at the time, and it was like 50 quid for half a gram, which, 15 years ago was a lot of money. You know what I mean?
It still is now.
It is now, but
especially with the fuel prices, but that's a whole other episode.
Oh my goodness. So it sort of, it was weird. With drawing stuff straight away, I was like that, but with coke, it had an effect on me, which it seemed to last at the start. I suppose it seemed the same with all drugs, but quickly it sort of, you start to use more, and the older I got, obviously when I got my job and my profession, if you see what I mean, then started earning a bit of money, and then I'll be able to get it. But
could afford it then.
But I never really, I'd say, to be honest, in the younger years, I abused alcohol more. I was a binge drinker. I'd be good all week. I was really into my sports, my football and stuff. So I'd be like at the gym doing training. I'd have maybe one beer on Friday before football. Like, religiously, I was really good, and then Saturday night, I was absolutely annihilating myself.
So you've always used something, whether it be cocaine, pills, or alcohol, just to change the way you're feeling about yourself, which is what we learn in the fellowship.
Exactly. I can do it with sports. I can do it with anything, with food. To be honest, my whole personality is addictive. If you see I really have to watch the day. It's a big thing, because even like my football now, I missed a few years when I got quite bad, and then when I got back, that was it. I was playing 3 times a week. It was just like, I have to do something all the time, and it's just a case of like now having a balance in my life, which is the hardest thing to find. I have to put my recovery right up there with everything else. See, I'm blessed today to have a family, so I've got to get them in there as well. But if I'm not doing recovery, I'm not well enough to be with my family, because I'm not nice to be around when my head's not in the right place. So then obviously over the years it got sort of more money I started earning, the more I'd go out. Had a few spells of selling it, which I thought would be a good idea. Never really did. Obviously I was like trying to make some money and sort of save.
End up just in the worst situation because you do it all yourself.
Yeah. Well, you'd make money and then you'd buy more and then you'd probably do that.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't paid for it because it was free in a way. It wasn't. Do you know what I mean? It was just a reason for me to like. I like to manipulate stuff. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'd always judge people who'd go out and what they'd do, and I'd make it. Oh, you spend all that money on that, but I'd buy it, sell it, and I'd use more than them. But I thought I was better than them because I didn't spend as much money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Where do you think that comes from?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I was just like, I thought it's an ego thing.
Yeah.
I think, oh, well, you're wasting your money, while I'm buying it and selling it, and I'm getting it cheaper than you are, I'm getting more. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird thing, but I'd always have more. I'd always have to have more.
Yeah.
Obviously, as the progression started, it was I could go out, we'd have a few beers, and then you might call it on. Do you know what I mean? 99% of the time you would. Then it's like you get to the pub, you have one beer, and you call it on, and then before I know it, I've got to have it in my pocket before I go out. Because if I know I'm going to drink, I'm going to need it. And then it was I was using it before I went out, which is dry sniffing. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
Which is obviously sniffing without drinking.
Yeah.
And you do it and you prang yourself out, and then you go and sit in the pub and have to drink a few beers to sort yourself out.
Yeah.
To then do some more. It was a really weird thing, but I couldn't. It's almost like a chemical reaction in my body. As soon as I knew I was going out, I had to have it. So that was sort of how it went, and then each time it sort of got worse and worse. It started coming into the weekdays a lot more. I think I got my first house, I can remember, and I sort of we managed to get that, and obviously I was doing okay with my work and stuff, and I can remember then when my missus, my partner would go out, I think I'll treat myself to like a cheeky little half during the week or whatever. Never go like mad during the week, because obviously another addiction is work. I like to always had to work a lot because I always want that money. I always want to have what everyone else has got, and when I get that, I still want more. It was never enough. Like anything I did,
Never content.
No, never happy with what I had. Do you know what I mean? Like we got everything I did, I'd set myself a goal and I'd reach it, and then I still wouldn't be happy, so I'd set something else. And I was always chasing. Like the same with cocaine at the end, where I couldn't hit that high anymore because I'm always chasing that first hit, that first feeling where it made me feel good.
Yeah.
And because obviously I'd let everything else go downhill, and I just wanted this high, and I may get it for a couple of minutes when I do my first line, then I'd sniffle down, I wouldn't ever get it. Yeah. But then 5 minutes later I'd be doing another line because I want that feeling. But it's just the delusion in my mind telling me that I'm gonna get it when realistically I'm not. Yeah. Which is, I think, how obviously an addict works. Yeah.
Just think the more and more you do, the more it will happen. It will happen. It will eventually happen, but it don't.
This is it. I can remember a few times I sat up. My mate came down from Chelmsford for the weekend, and my partner had gone away for work or whatever. So it was like a whole weekend. And I can remember this, like the second day, and we were still going, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm getting nothing." So that's why. And he's like, "You need to slow down." I said, "Yeah, but I want to hit. And he's like, "Do you not get it anymore?" I said, "No." I said, "I literally get that first." As it hits the back of my throat, that's the first, as it hits me, and it's gone. Where everyone else with a normal person, it stays and they're alright for a bit, and all I'm doing is sitting there thinking, it's your turn, mate, back him up, basically. Yeah. And I'm itching for it, where he's not, if you see what I mean, and I think that's the difference between us. So that's just one thing of it, but I always go to the extremes. Every time I went on a stag, do anything like that, 9 times out of 10 I come back with alcohol poison, and I'd just have to have a few days of work where I couldn't stop. Yeah. Everyone else would go to bed, and I'd be like, "Oh, we're
last one up."
It's a good excuse. You know what I mean? Like, what's the matter with you?
Yeah. Almost bragging, I'm the last one up, but then in reality, it's not funny, is it?
It's not. Not when you get home and you're being sick for 12 hours straight. Yeah. And you're being sick that much at the hospital. They tell you that you're actually sicking up. You're in, like, not your insides, but almost like your byproduct, which is like your shit, basically. Yeah. It's because there's nothing else left in you. Yeah. And the next next time I go out, I'll do the same thing. I just could never learn. My partner always says, just please don't drink too much. I'm like, no, I'll be alright this time.
This time I'll be alright.
It's different this time.
So was your partner aware of what sort of extremes you were going to?
No, not realistically, no, because I lied. That's a massive part of it. I could never... Oh. It was like a shame thing. I sort of was ashamed of what I did, but I couldn't stop doing what I was doing. So she's always been there, and I think, to be honest, it may have been it wouldn't have been different, I've been honest, because she probably would have gone, because of if she didn't know what I was like. And it took a long time for her to notice somehow. Obviously, when I was using every day, she didn't clock on for a long time until realistically it was like I got sloppy, and I think I wanted to be caught because I'd start leaving drugs.
Like cries for help.
Yeah, in a way, because I'd get in my van in the morning, I'd use, and I didn't want to, I was using against my will basically. So it was really hard, and I'd get so low, do you know what I mean, when I'd be using all day and I think I've got to go home, I've got to try and act that I've not been doing drugs all day.
Yeah, exhausting.
Yeah,
mentally and physically.
Yeah. It was really hard work, and to be honest, at the end it was quite scary, to be honest, and for her, because I developed psychosis because I wasn't eating or looking after myself at all. I was just using drugs. I wasn't sleeping, though it's obviously sort of sleep and drug-induced psychosis, which is like paranoia.
The sleep deprivation for people that are taking drugs is the thing that can mess your head up more than what the drug can, isn't it? The lack of sleep. If you don't sleep for 3 or 4 days, you know about it, don't you? Me and you spoke about the psychosis we both had in the past, and they actually use that as torture in some things, like the army and stuff, don't they? And that is because it is one of the scariest places you can be in it. You know it, and I know it. Like, psychosis is horrendous. Yeah. And you can't hide that from anyone when you're in that, can you?
No.
Because you're actually nuts. Like.
Yeah, you physically are. During the day I was fine. As soon as it got dark, I was scared to go out and have a fag because someone's around that corner. Just no reason for it. Yeah. I don't know people money I didn't owe. Do you know what I mean? I didn't have nobody after me, but someone was there. Someone's going to get me. It was but there was no.
Your mind can play horrendous tricks on you.
And I could stand there in fear, and thinking they're going to move, and all this bullshit, and nothing ever happened. Yeah. Because it was all in my head.
But it feels so real, doesn't it?
It was at that time. It was real. Yeah. I could not differentiate between real and not real at the time, and that was real. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can remember I used to have a little, like my shed, and I'd go up there and pretend I was doing work, and I'd just be using. I can remember walking down, and it was like my shadow, and I thought someone was jumped over the fence. So I'm chasing after like this. And my missus said, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm like, someone there.
Yeah, I told you about that time. I actually jumped off a balcony once.
Yes, you told me about that.
I thought the coat that was hanging up on my banister was someone stood at the bottom of the stairs. I hadn't been asleep for ages. I leaped over the balcony to kick it. And how madness is that? I just hit the floor. Yeah. That could have killed me. Right? And that was all because of psychosis in your head. That is crazy. Going back, you got kicked out of rehab.
Yeah.
You haven't drunk since then, or took drugs since then, have you?
Not since then.
But you've admitted as well in the rooms that you were more like a dry drunk.
I was, yeah. I think I'm a very stubborn person, which, to be honest, I think is one of the only reasons that I've probably kept in, and because my wills, I've always thought I was strong-willed. Anything else I wanted to stop, like if I had a reason to stop drinking or whatever for 30 days, I'd do it, but it got to a point where I just couldn't. Rehab done its job for me. It got me out of society because I couldn't do it at home. I couldn't do it where I was in that situation. I was sort of trapped, and I was lucky to be freed almost. That happened.
What drove you to rehab?
Sorry?
What drove you? What was like the turning point? What?
It was. I can sort of remember. I just sort of one night, and we've been talking about it, but I didn't want to go because I thought if I go, she's going to leave. She's not going to be here when I get back, and I couldn't blame her because of how bad it got.
Yeah.
It was sort of, and one night she just sort of said, "I'm fucking done with you. Do what you like. I don't care anymore. And it dropped, because she was the only one who was, I pushed everyone else away, my mum and that, because since a young age I've moved out with her, I'd always been together, and we've only ever needed each other. And I thought, when I've got her, but I manipulated her for how much I was using. Even when I sort of broke down and told her that I was using all the time, I still manipulated and lied to her about how much, and I'd tell her I was only using this, but I'd always have more in my pocket or whatever else, and she just had enough. And how she lasted that long, and in a way I'm glad that she did, and it sort of hit home that much that I just said to her, I'm ready. I said, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. Because I'd sit there at night and she would go to bed, and I'd sit downstairs and I'd use everything I had, and I'd find whatever prescription or stuff I had, and I'd just lay there and think, I just don't want to wake up tomorrow. I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't want to live how I was living. It was just, it was strange, because probably 5 years prior to that, it got quite bad, and a friend of mine is in the fellowship. I went to a meeting with him, and I was sort of like, I was still drinking, but I was going to pacify my partner, because every time I went out, it would just be madness, and I said, I'll stop using whatever else. So I did for a couple of months. But I was still drinking. I said, obviously I haven't got a problem with drink, even though it's basically a gateway to me using drugs. And then when I was drinking, I would always drink too much and I'd get violent. So I sort of said to her, like, I'd only use a little bit, but I wasn't. I was obviously using a lot because I was drinking a lot, so I had to counteract all the time, trying to even it out. So I knew about the fellowship, but when I was in that situation, I never ever thought about it. Even today, I still think, why didn't I think? Like at the point, the bloke I went with, he was like 8 to 10 years, and
we just weren't ready, was it?
No, I wasn't ready then. But my point is, obviously, I didn't think I could have maybe gone to meetings, but I don't think it would have worked for me. I don't think I would have gone.
Yeah,
I needed her to say these words to me, and for me to finally go, right, I'm finally done. Like, that is it. And it was. And a few days later, I sort of went in. I think I had my last use up the night before.
Everyone does that.
Like, obviously.
One last go. I'm getting sober tomorrow, so fuck it. I've done that for like 6 months in a row.
Yeah, but that's what it was. It was always like this. I'm not going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah. So I'm going to have an almighty one tonight. Yeah. But that trouble is, then the next day you start feeling better by midday and think, well, I'm going to have an almighty one tonight because I'm not going to do it tomorrow.
There's this insanity of this disease.
Yeah.
So obviously the night come before, and I think I managed, because obviously I owed so many people money, I managed to wangle my last bit or whatever, and by 10, 11 o'clock I was sort of done, and I think I fell asleep, and during the time I'd do a few days, 3 or 4 days with no sleep, and then I'd sleep for a good 20 hours solid, and she said, I was like a zombie. She said, you couldn't wake me up until I was ready, and my body would shut down until it had enough, sort of rejuvenated itself enough to wake up. And I sort of don't remember driving there because I was asleep. Got there, you have to be inducted and all stuff like this, and then I think I slept for pretty much 2 days at the start. So because my body was just
recovering.
Yeah, it was destroyed. Like now at the minute, I'm normally between 12 to 14 stone. I think I was about 9 stone. Yeah. Because of me, I thought I was bollocks, but I just, you know what I mean?
It's because of all the coke you were doing and that, not eating, not sleeping, not looking after yourself, essentially, isn't it?
So literally my body was deteriorating, and everyone could notice it, and I was just talking this shit that I was looking after myself, like really trim, and it was just, I wasn't at all. It's just, all lies. Most of my addiction and most of my life was just based on a lie. And it was hard work lying all the time because
exhausting.
Yeah, it really was. So we made a decision. I made the decision. I had to make the decision myself because I couldn't go for anyone else realistically, because I needed to do this for me. So I went in and it was going really well. And they only did the first 2 or 3 steps, and I sort of raced through it. I wanted to be the best at it. Do you know what I mean? Like my personality come out. I started feeling a bit better, but then I was just misbehaving, do you know what I mean, when I wasn't in the classes and stuff like that, and I just got bored.
Yeah.
So there's old defects come out of character, and you had a 3-ball strike, and I think I had 5 or 6, and then they were sort of like did something else, and they said, "I'll write a letter why you should stay." So I went and wrote it, and then they come up and said, "Look, you sort of run out of chances. You've got to go."
Did you pay for that then?
Yeah, it was about £12,000.
Fucking hell. So, how long was you meant to be there?
28 days.
How long did you last?
14.
Did you get any money back?
No,
Not that matters.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
So I was obviously lost my shit with the person.
Yeah.
You're going to hear from a solicitor wearing all this bullshit, but do you know what I mean? It's the delusion.
Yeah. But at least you can see that now.
Yeah.
And from how you've come along now is incredible to see, and it's not just me that sees it. Everyone that speaks, you're a massive member of our home group, and I'm well proud of how far you've come, especially like the last, because you were right moody fucker before.
Yeah, this is the problem. Obviously, the best thing I got out of it, it took me out of the situation I was in, which I needed to do. I needed to find a bit of myself again to think that's not me. There was other reasons why I think my using got so bad. Obviously, I had a loss close to me, very close to me, which destroyed me, and I didn't deal with it. Grief was a massive thing. I didn't deal with the grief. Yeah. Just pushed it all down, and it exploded. So,
do you want to talk about that or not?
Probably not tonight. We'll leave that. Yeah, I'd rather focus on a bit more recovery tonight.
Yeah, that's fair.
And about what I should have done at the start. Do you see what I mean? And obviously they had the fellowship meetings in there, and I found it, and I heard the people talk, and I thought that's just how I was. Like, I always thought I was the only one who was this bad, and do you know what I mean? It was just a self-pity party as always.
So even when you wasn't getting as much as what you could from the group, so you still done a massive thing for you.
The group's done the most for me out of anything.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean? Especially in the rehab, because I wanted to push on and progress, but it was everybody's different. If you see what I mean? And I think realistically, I didn't do the steps correctly in there. I just wanted to tell them what they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Not that I understood it, and
still manipulating.
Basically, manipulating my way to get my badge to say I'm fucking better. Do you know what I mean? Which is crazy. It's never going to happen. And I know that now that this is for life, and I'm happy with that. I really am sort of content with it, because my life is so much better today than it was then. Because I don't have to jump through all hoops for everybody else. I'm just have to look after myself, and when I look after myself, everything else seems to be alright.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I deal with me and you deal with you, not me trying to deal with everybody. And so
the steps are a massive help as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like just freeing.
Yeah, massively.
That's what I'd recommend to anyone going into the fellowship, is go to as many meetings as you can, but find a sponsor and go through the steps, because they're essentially the thing that sets you free, I think.
It's massively. Obviously, there's service, unity, and recovery. And when I first come in, my first meeting, everyone was get sponsor, and I was a bit like, okay. So I sort of started going to 3 or 4 meetings a week. Some days some weeks I'd do 5 or 6. If I needed a meeting, I'd do all the fellowships. If you see me in a meeting, at that time was a meeting to me. But obviously, I found my home in one of the fellowships. And I went in, and I was loving it. Like, it was that glow. I was on this cloud, and I got my first sponsor. And I remember going to his house. He was only about 80 days. He'd been sort of gone through it, and we went there, and it wasn't like, it didn't feel right, because he was like, look, just copy out my book. Do you know what I mean? Write this down, and we wasn't. And I was reading it, but didn't understand it. And he unfortunately relapsed, which was a bit of a pain. I was thinking, okay, it happens. Do you know what I mean? Got another sponsor, and I think my first 3 sponsors relapsed. And then the next sponsor was a good sponsor, but at that point I was getting a bit obviously agitated, and my life was coming back to normal, and I was thinking, do you know what I mean? Recovery was starting to slip down the ladder. Football was coming back in, my life, my part. Do you know what I mean? Like,
life got in the way a little bit.
Yeah, and I let it to do it, and obviously I was always doing the service and the unity. I was always there, and I was putting on this smile that I'm all good, and telling everyone this, but I wasn't doing the recovery. I wasn't doing anything out of the rooms.
Yeah.
So it's like a dry drunk, basically.
Yeah.
I come in, tell everyone I'm brilliant and all this, but I'm not. I'm dying inside still. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can remember I was taking the meetings in Colchester, and everything was good, and it just got to a point where I just had enough. Do you know what I mean? This was over a few years, so I got to me 2 years, I think, and it was not easy, if you see what I mean. Like, when I was doing my recovery, my life was good. At home it was brilliant, at work was good, but when I'm not, it
starts to fall apart.
Yeah, it starts to fall apart, and I start to blame everyone else for it, and I take my will back, and I have to tell you what to do and tell everyone what to do. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to control everyone else and not actually look at myself.
Yeah, well, what this program's giving, it's clear from what you just said, is complete awareness of yourself, and that's a beautiful thing to have, because a lot of people don't. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
No, so it's obviously...
You'll be taking other people through the steps now, and me and you went through them with you, but I went through with my sponsor. But when I went through them with you again, I essentially went back through them myself. Do you know what I mean? That's how it works. That's how it gets sober. So when you go through the steps with whoever you sponsor, you'll be going back through them. Do you see what I mean? So it is a magical thing. I do another fellowship as well, and there was a bloke, and he's really old boy, and this is a different fellowship to what we do, but I dabble in a couple of them, and he's never said 2 words to me, and the other day after a meeting, he was just staring at me, and I looked at him, and he slapped me on the leg, and he went, 27 years ago I hit rock bottom, and when I hit rock bottom the lift was broken. I looked to the left, there was 12 steps. I took them and they set me free. I was like, oh, wow. And then he sort of went back to sleep.
What an amazing bloke.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was nice, do you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, no. Sounds like a great guest, future guest, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Huh?
So how long have you been sober now, Daryl?
So I was 4 years on the 25th of January, so it's over 4.5 years now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But the last 6 months, probably, since I've been doing the work with Sam, has been my best.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had a sponsor before Sam, and he come in, and they say, I think my problem was when I first come in, they were like, get a sponsor, and I didn't connect with these people properly, but I was scared, so I grabbed hold of someone and thought they were going to save me, but they wasn't the right person for me, which I know today, and I used a lot of excuses myself and didn't want to do what they said all the time. But then I found another sponsor who come in when I was taking a meeting, and he did a share, and it sort of blew me away, and I just said to him, look, I need help. I said, I put on this bravado, I come to the meetings, and but as soon as I got out the door and got my van, it was like my head was just like, you're a piece of shit, and it was like I'd almost gone back to where I just I think the drugs used to take away, it was like the comfort I used to have of them, and it would stop my head talking and until the next day. But when I'm not using, my head's constantly there, and it's telling me all this crazy stuff, and I'm a piece of shit, and I'm not good enough, and do you know what I mean? And it's just hard work, and it affected my life massively. In this time, I'd had a daughter, which I was blessed, and I love the time with her. But if I'm trying to run my own life all the time, I don't know, I just get stressed, and everything's too hard. And so I grabbed hold of this bloke, and he said, look, I'm taking people to work, you're going to have to wait. I said, I've been waiting for 2 years to find the right person. And we started going through the work. He was in Chelmsford, obviously I'm based in St Joseph, and so I'd go up there once a week, we'd do a couple of hours, and it was a long way through it. It sort of took nearly 6 months or more, and I got through all the steps, got to nearly to step 9, and then obviously COVID hit, and we sort of fell out of touch. We were trying to do face meetings online and whatever else, and it just, I don't know, it just gave me another excuse not to do it. I was in a good place, and I was happy, I was loving life, because I got to have time off my daughter, and it was good. And I think when obviously the lockdown finished, I went back to work and the stress of life and everything else, and obviously I was still doing what I started doing with him was my meditation in the morning, which is just some readings. I don't do full meditation. I need to probably progress onto it, but I was doing that and I was connecting with other people, which I wasn't doing before. Just little things like gratitude lists, stuff I'm grateful for every day. And we sort of would speak every day, and then we sort of started to lose touch. And then it was probably nearly a year, I think I went without a meeting or anything, and it wasn't good. Do you know what I mean? I was quite lucky that I had the obsession for alcohol and drink sort of gone, because I knew it wasn't for me anymore, and it wouldn't help me, but I couldn't handle my defects of character and stuff like this, which you come to learn about.
You just learn that the booze and the alcohol is just something that you use to cover that up.
Yeah.
It's not actually the problem, really, is it?
No,
well, it is a massive problem. I don't drink and take drugs, but what I mean is that we learn that was why we were using drink and alcohol.
Exactly that.
And the route to be happy is to do this stuff, to do the work and that,
This is it. It is about living a life which is good for me, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And for me, finally being able to be me in a weird way, it's like it's starting over, and obviously just I have to hand everything over every morning. I do my prayers to my God, which is my God. It's not anyone else's. It's not the God that everyone else. It's just something for me that I can hand it over to.
Something that takes Daryl out of Daryl.
Yeah, exactly. Daryl's not the boss no more. Do you know what I mean? When that happens, like, some stuff in my life is good, but everything else it just gets too much, and it just, so it's just easier letting, do you know what I mean? I know when I'm doing wrong today, and I will apologise for it.
Yeah.
I'm still an arsehole, do you know what I mean? It's not going to make me a perfect person.
Yeah, we're not miracle workers.
No. I progress, do you know what I mean?
I'm only joking.
So, it's, do you know what I mean? But today I'm honest, but at least if I know I'm wrong, I'll admit it and I'll apologise to people.
It's important. That's it, and that is one of the steps, isn't it?
It's a massive part of the steps. Yeah. So obviously...
when you asked me to be the sponsor, I fucking was well chuffed, but at the same time I felt really like, and I remember ringing someone else up in the first year. It was like, I can't be a sponsor, he's got years, I've got months, and they went, he needs your fucking help him.
Yeah.
Phone down.
It was a delusion. My other sponsor had like a lot more years and stuff, and but I just needed, you had a spark about you, do you know what I mean? We connected straight away when we first met, obviously. So I had a year out and come back in to the fellowship we go to, Colchester, and straight away, do you know what I mean? But it was mild. I come in and I wouldn't talk to people. I'd say hello and that was it. And that's not me, if you see what I mean. As you know, I can love a chat and do you know what I mean? Especially about recovery.
You just look shattered all the time, didn't you?
It was just hard work.
Yeah.
And it was just my head, do you know what I mean? It was just always constantly going on, and there's always something, and just today it's quiet.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
But even though you wasn't drinking and taking drugs, you still looked a bit ill and tired and run down. But lately you've just come in, you've got colour in your face, your hair's like, you look immaculate, do you know what I mean? Like you just look well. You can tell when you look around the room who's doing the work, can't you? And you're a good example to newcomers that come in, that if you fucking put in the work, then you can get the life that you want. Exactly. I mean, and that's what it's all about.
Today, massively, I'm spiritually well.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because I'd stop using drugs and alcohol and whatever else I get my hands on, but obviously without dealing with the actual problem which made me use that, I was still miserable, and do you know what I mean? I'd just have to use sports or something else to try and get me a high, but then I could never find that middle ground, and I'd still get just as low as when I was using, and it was just confusing, do you know what I mean? And as it says, the steps will set you free, which since I've started going through them again, I have, and obviously I'm doing my amends now. I've got a couple more left to do, but I think the main thing, as you said, and what I've missed, is getting through them, and every time you give it, you pass it on, you redo them. So it's going through it, this is a program of progression, and obviously same as with drugs and everything else, you have to keep progressing through this. You can't be stagnant. You can't just do it once, not pass it on.
You're just a recovery thief then, aren't you?
Yeah.
But you'll be a fantastic sponsee as well, and that is the 12th step, to pass it on. You know what I mean? And that's the stuff that keeps you
better.
This is, I think, my problem was I always do. Like one of the analogies that everyone said to me, they're like, if you've got a milking stool, and you sit on it, and say it's recovery, so you've got service, recovery, and unity. If you take away one of them away, which I always did, I could never do all three. He said you'll always be falling off. It's a weird analogy, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
if you're not doing all of it,
no, that's right.
Then it's not going to work for you.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
Is everybody. It comes in. You've got a book, tells you what to do. You find someone to help you take you through it. And if you do as you're told for once in your life, do you know what I mean? You just don't question it.
I think the great bit of advice to give to anyone that's listening to this as well is not, because I think everyone does when they first come in the rooms, is overcomplicate something that's quite simple. If you just do what's suggested to you, as simple as that, then you'll be alright. But I think as an addict brain, what we all do when we first come in is, I want to be the best at this, I want to do it this way, that way, and we overcomplicate something that is actually written for something, for someone quite simple. Do you know what I mean?
It's a simple program for difficult people.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what it is. I mean, I made it difficult because I come in and I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be like Mr. Fellowship of everything. Everyone knows who I am. His recovery is amazing. It fucking went completely opposite. Do you know what I mean? But because I wasn't doing it, and I was overcomplicating it, and I wasn't just doing the simple stuff that people told me to do. I'd do a bit of anything. I don't need to do that.
Yeah. Do it the Daryl's way.
Do it Daryl's way.
That's and that's the same thing. We all do that. And but the thing, we've done it our way our whole lives, and look where that got us. So it's about time. Like for me personally, I thought, well, I'm going to do it someone else's way, and luckily it's worked so far. It's about leaving your ego at the door, isn't it? And
which is it's massive. One of my defects is my ego.
And mine, it always will be.
But today I can, as I say, like if I am at work, I work with building site and stuff, and there's a lot of ego in there, and there's a lot of shit. I'm not as bad today, do you know what I mean? And if I am, it's a joke. But then if I am at with someone, I'll apologise. Where before I'd fucking not do that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we spoke about. You don't want to be fucking putting all them, like making all amends to everyone now. You don't want to be making a new list for the future. Do you know what I mean? And if you can recognise that you pissed someone off and make that amends now, you're not building up a big list, because
I get that.
Yeah,
it's just about keeping, as they say, keeping our side of the street
keeping your
clean.
side of the road clean.
I can't. What you do to me or what everyone else does in their life is their choice today. It's not my. I don't need to have an opinion on it. I don't need to tell you what to do. Because it's nothing to do with me. I've just got to focus on me. And when I do, everything else seems to be good. And I can be there and look after my family, and I can, do you know what I mean? And I can be a massive part of the fellowship. But when I'm not, and I'm focusing on all the shit and focusing on what everyone else is doing, and that's not what it's about.
No,
we don't come in to heal other people. We come in to heal ourselves.
And then by attraction, that will heal other people around you.
If you're, I mean, when reading to it, it's like if you're not well yourself, you can't help others. Which is what I think I try to do a lot, and then I'll get to a point and I'm thinking I'd always be good to tell people what to do in recovery, but I wasn't doing it myself, and I feel like a bit of a hypocrite. Because I'm telling you to do this and being the martyr, but I've not done it myself. So in a way, it was like, as you say, I was like a recovery thief, because and that really sort of, I heard it in me.
But you're probably saying that out loud to someone else, but really talking to yourself subconsciously. You just didn't recognise it.
So
there you can.
But today's different. Because today I've done my stuff.
You're flying through it, and you come through the door, and you make your presence known without even having to try. Whereas before, you, like you say, with your ego in the past, you've been trying to make that presence. Now you do it just from doing all the right things.
This is it. It's just a simple little things. I've got my commitment now. Do you know what I mean? I love doing it. Helps with me. Anybody else isn't there? Do you know what I mean? I help, and it's just that. It's just being. It's about being nice for once. And not always. Do you know what I mean?
It's quite rewarding, though, isn't it?
It's
nice to be nice.
Well, it's weird.
That should be a saying.
Get some t-shirts.
We talked about the other day at the meeting, and it's like, if you just have a positive outcome, you just draw it back to you. You know what I mean?
Positive stuff.
And I was always negative. And I always wondered why fucking people thought I was an arsehole.
And that is the law of attraction. I'm telling you, it's real.
I believe it.
I've got a little bit too excited then.
Just to kind of finish off, really, Daryl.
if there's anyone listening now who's struggling, or someone who's in them early stages and they're trying to make their mind up on what to do, what bit of advice would you give them?
I would obviously get online and look for the list of your local meeting. Come along and it's hard and it's scary, but you're not the only one out there. There's people who want to help you, because otherwise if I hadn't have made the step of going in, I don't think I'd be here today, to be honest. And it is a very hard step, but it's the most rewarding one I've ever made. And there is help, like there is, you can recover basically. Today I'm a recovering addict because I do my part, and I want to be, where it's, yeah, I'm going to waffle on about that, but just get online, have a look. There's all different fellowships and there's meetings everywhere. If you can't get out, there's meetings online. Just get on and listen. Just listen to what people have got to say, and listen to all the similarities, not the differences. I can be a big person who listens to the differences, and when people talk about drugs that I haven't taken, I think, oh wow, fucking hell, that's not me. That's a yet. If I go out the door tomorrow, I don't know what's going to happen if I put this stuff down. I'm always looking for that next higher. I was lucky I didn't escalate to what, like, more of a downfall. So it's just listen to what the similarities, and you can recover. It's the main part of our program. There is a way out.
Nice one. Thank you for coming on and telling us your story, mate.
So
very inspiring.
Thanks for inviting us. It's nice to give something back.
Yeah, it's nice to be nice.
Yeah, it is nice to be nice.
Nice.